Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Monday, September 15th, and we have so much to talk about today. As I come to you live right now from the Rumble Studios, we're broadcasting live here on Rumble, on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, every podcast platform you can ever imagine. We are also reporting on the unprecedented act. President JD Vance, right now, as I speak to you, is broadcasting live from the studio of the recently assassinated Charlie Kirk. So there is so much to discuss today on the program, and there is so much we know, so much we do not know. You see the headline of today's show, live exclusive with Michael Yon, war correspondent and investigative journalist, will be joining us in just about 10 minutes here on the Shannon Joy Show to talk about what we know and what we don't know regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What we do know today is that very few people, especially from the right, are calling for unity. And that's a bad thing. There is an enormous amount of information being disseminated right now from multiple outlets, left and right. Narratives are shaping very quickly about the tragic assassination that this country and the world witnessed last week. Many entities from both sides of the political aisle are, at this point, cynically using this event to raise money, pursue political agendas, consolidate power, drive legislation, drive ratings, gain followings on social media, and stoke fear and division in the United States of America. There's an enormous amount of rhetoric talking about how we can't share this country with the left, that all the hate is coming from the left. And we are also seeing pieces of legislation now being pushed that seek to quell free speech, if it is not the appropriate free speech according to the political agendas today. Pretty concerning rhetoric. Marjorie Taylor Greene pushed this out just about an hour or so ago. There is nothing left to talk about with the left, she said. They hate us, she said. They assassinated our nice guy who actually talked to them peacefully, debating ideas. The millions on the left celebrated and made clear they want all of us dead. This is the rhetoric coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She said, to be honest, I want a national divorce. She said a peaceful national divorce. Our country is too far gone, she said, and too far divided. It's no longer safe for any of us. Tucker Carlson coming out saying that we are now in a form of civil war that was pushed out by Steve Bannon and Grace Chong. Lots of rhetoric around the idea that we can't share a nation. There's nothing to talk about. And we even have President Trump now saying, this was just reported earlier, I have a soundbite of this, that there are large numbers of people on the left, Democrats, who are being investigated in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. He said they are under major investigation. A lot of the people you would traditionally see on the left are already under investigation. He called them scum. Now, these are people who have maybe said unkind things and vile things in the wake of Kirk's assassination, but it is speech nonetheless. And I think that there are many people who are becoming more and more concerned about what this event will potentially do to further political agendas, anti-freedom agendas, anti-speech agendas coming from the Trump administration. And that is what I am concerned about today. I'm also concerned that we are not getting the full story. And Michael Yon is calling me right now. Trying to log in, I suppose. Hey, Ed, are you there by any chance? Thank you to the Died Suddenly producers, by the way. Ed Zoll producing the show today. Ed, we are trying to get a hold of Michael Yon. He just called me on my cell phone and on the Signal chat. So if you wouldn't mind checking in with Michael Yon, that would be great. Okay, and I just want to make sure, is our mic on as well? Test, test, 1, 2. So we are live on Rumble. Okay. All right. Awesome. So, yes, we are live. So, we're going to be looking at some of the people who are questioning the official narratives, which will be delivered today by Vice President JD Vance. So, make no mistake, what you are witnessing as JD Vance takes to Charlie Kirk's microphone and hosts his podcast. It is the official convergence, I suppose, of the government and the media. You will be getting an official narrative, but you might not necessarily be getting the truth narrative. Now, we're going to ask these questions today. What does this administration stand to gain from blurring the lines between government and the free press? Will this administration weaponize this tragedy to pursue blatant censorship and round up political dissidents? What role, if any, has Israel played in recent events? And are Americans buying this lone shooter narrative? Will we ever get to the truth? Are we moving very quickly into another situation where the official narrative from the government is pushed out? People who are asking questions are not allowed to ask those questions. Is this a psyop? Michael Yon believes that, yes, indeed, this is a psyop. Mark the Reagan, no one here is questioning the shooting. And I see you guys on the live chat right now. We have CJP Rumble. I'm just going to check in on the live chat. And it looks as if we're not up on Rumble right now. We are only up on YouTube. And so, Ed, I'm not sure if we're up on Rumble right now. I'm getting word from everyone on the live chat that, yeah, Nostradamus says that it's not up on Rumble right now. I'm listening or watching through YouTube. So, Ed, wondering? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Rumble, if you would like to go over, if you're trying to watch on Rumble and you'd like to hop over to YouTube or my Twitter feed, it's up on the Shannon Joy live Twitter feed at Shannon Joy Radio. And it is also up on the Died Suddenly feed, correct, Ed? We're live on Died Suddenly right now. Okay. We should also be live on Substack, on YouTube, on Facebook, and a few others as well. So we will certainly upload this to the Rumble feed as soon as we get that fixed. I'm checking on what's going on here. Yep, there are issues across the board on Rumble, and they are working on it right now. So let's continue with the show. You are certainly going to get a narrative. You will get the official narrative from Vice President JD Vance. It's certainly a political narrative regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But there are a lot of people who are questioning many aspects of this assassination. Some are calling it a psyop, and there is a lot that does not make sense. There's also a theme. There are multiple themes that we're going to address and look at today on the show. First and foremost, we're going to look at the monetization, politicization, and the use of this tragic, horrifying killing to further anti-liberty agendas. And so we have a video from that President Trump pushed out advocating for Smith-Mundt style legislation that would necessarily, according to the girl on this video, this is to force journalists to tell the truth, particularly journalists on the left. We're also looking at hundreds of millions potentially raised in an effort for Turning Point USA, and also in efforts to raise money for the widow of Charlie Kirk. And so certainly there is a massive amount of money being raised today. We're going to look at the hyperbolic reactions of fear and anger and hatred coming from both sides of the political aisle. We're also going to look at another theme of bizarre behavior. The actions of the FBI and Kash Patel, and what many are saying is a bungled investigation, a sloppy crime scene, and what looks like tampering of the crime scene just minutes after Charlie Kirk was rushed to the hospital. We're also going to look at some of the more bizarre videos that beg the question as to whether or not the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, is being exploited or manipulated. Very strange videos coming out, being retweeted by people like Mike Lee, that show her an open casket. We don't see Charlie Kirk's face, but just very, very strange optics here. And of course, some of the videos from Kash Patel saying that he'll see Charlie Kirk in Valhalla. Another thing we're going to look at is the official narrative, which many are saying is defying logic, right? The idea of a lone shooter. There was a video that was pushed out by Michael Savage. Okay, great. And also the health ranger, Mike Adams. We are also looking at reporting from Kim Iverson, among others, Jeff Berwick. As I mentioned, the Patriot Voice, an account on Twitter, Mike Adams, the health ranger, Michael Savage, and as I mentioned before, Kim Iverson are all questioning the official mainstream narrative. There are a lot of holes in that narrative, and we're going to go through some of those with Michael Yon. Also, what happened after he was taken to the hospital? We still haven't seen a death certificate. We haven't seen an official coroner's report. We have not seen an autopsy. Clearly, we have the imagery of the gruesome shooting of Charlie Kirk, but there are just a lot of questions, a lot of holes in this story. And then, as I mentioned before, could this potentially be a psyop? That Charlie Kirk was indeed assassinated, but that this is to further multiple agendas by the global corporatist state. And we need to look at all of these things. These are themes that you are not going to hear on mainstream news media, and you will not hear on the majority of right-leaning news media as well. Apparently, Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist in chief, is just accepting the entire narrative, no questions asked. And as I mentioned, we are barreling towards multiple pieces of legislation that would impact free speech to the detriment of free speech in the United States of America. Green Tea 369, are we waiting for Shannon to finish brunch? So sorry to everyone on Rumble, trying to watch on Rumble right now. The feed is down. There are multiple problems across the board with Rumble Studio. But as I mentioned, we are up on YouTube. We're up on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. We are up on Substack, the Died Suddenly platform, and also right here on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, you guys can comment on the Rumble live chat if you would like to. But I won't see any of the other chats. So some of the rhetoric really is it's getting intense, and there are just so many narratives out there. It's really hard to grapple with all of them, but we're going to try to do that today. First, I do want to thank our sponsors. Today, you are going to hear from Colonial Metals Group. We're going to hear from our friends over at Native Path, the satellite phone store, sat123.com, and our friends over at Relief Band. So I do want to talk about gold and silver. Gold and silver actually did break out, particularly silver. It's up over 46 right now, I believe. And many analysts are believing that it is going to move very quickly into the 50 range. This is an article from the New York Post, just dropped just a couple minutes ago or a couple hours ago. Gold is also surging near record high as investors are now betting on the Fed to cut rates. So pretty devastating financial news came out last week. This administration would like you to think that we are in a golden age and that the economy is surging, but the numbers don't lie. And this is now leading the Federal Reserve. Many people are believing that the Federal Reserve is going to slash interest rates this week. Now, you don't cut interest rates when you're in a boom. When the economy is strong and the numbers are good, you don't see the federal government or the Federal Reserve moving to cut interest rates. But as was reported in the New York Post, gold was charging near record highs on Wednesday, trading around $36.50 an ounce after U.S. wholesale prices unexpectedly fell. Well, here on the Shannon Joy Show, none of this is unexpected. Between the tariffs, the tariff taxes, the profligate spending, the massive amount of debt and deficit spending and the money printing, among other things, we have been predicting that this is going to impact the economy as a whole here in the U.S. And at this point, investors piled into bets that the Federal Reserve will slash interest rates. The precious metal brushed an all-time peak of 3,674 last week and has already soared 40% in 2025, trouncing stocks and other major assets and Bitcoin. Now, this administration is continuing to try to push their people into Bitcoin. Peter Schiff wrote this: Wall Street and the Trump administration are going to try to get you to buy Bitcoin. If you're smart, you won't buy what they're selling, but what they're hoping you don't notice. And what is that? Well, it is gold, it is silver, precious metals, land, commodities, physical assets, right? Couple years ago, 5 years ago, Trump convinced his followers to take poison shots, which they all regret now. Will he succeed in convincing them to take fake money as well? The real money, the investor money, people who know what's going on are moving quickly into gold and silver. And I cannot recommend enough that you guys give Colonial Metals Group a call today. Go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy right now. That is colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. It is worth a conversation to discuss a metals strategy to hedge against what is coming. Remember, there is always a political agenda. Our politicians, either left or right, are not looking out for our best interests. We have to do that ourselves. This is why I have been purchasing physical gold and silver and also buying gold and silver through my self-directed IRA through Colonial Metals Group for so many years. There's a 1-800 number right there on my page. They're also running specials for the Joy audience. They will take very good care of you. They will answer any of your questions, but I cannot more adamantly advocate that people put that metals strategy together, and you can do that through Colonial Metals Group. So please go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy right now. So we're also going to be hearing about Relief Band today, an amazing device that absolutely cures nausea, right? Dizziness, nausea, car sickness. It cures hangovers. It helps with hormonal changes and even can help people who are going through chemotherapy. So we're going to be looking at Relief Band a little bit later in the program. And yes, Karen Carpenter, I see you on the live chat. God bless those who called for unity and calm. Kim Iverson has done fantastic commentary, cutting edge on this event. Thank you so much, Karen Carpenter 27. We'll make sure to keep an eye on Kim Iverson as well. And I agree, she has done a great job. But without further ado, we're going to go to a quick break. We do have Michael Yon ready to go. Again, one of the most brilliant, independent, cutting edge investigative reporters. And he is a war correspondent, and he has a lot to say about whether or not this event, what happened on September 10th, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, was indeed a psyop. He believes that it is, and that we are now in a moment where we are going to be manipulated, coerced, propagandized to an extent that we may not ever have been in the past. So everyone needs to be vigilant. We have to be willing to ask questions of this government. We have to be willing to challenge the official narrative. We're going to go through all of the holes in the narrative and all of the gaps. And then we're going to look at how they are going to seek to divide this country left and right, telling us that we're in a civil war, telling us that we can't share a nation with these people, the scum that Donald Trump called them in an earlier press conference. We have to keep our heads about us, keep our wits about us, keep calm and carry on. And yes, call for unity. I will tell you, we can share a nation with this people. I have fine relationships with my neighbors in my own corner of the world who have Joe Biden signs in their front yard and may have criticized or may have not thought that Charlie Kirk was the unifying character that so many people on the right thought that he was. I will tell you, even though I disagree with them adamantly on politics, and I would never vote for Joe Biden, and I would disagree probably with a lot of their criticisms of Charlie Kirk, I can absolutely live next door to them, and we are not at civil war. And so we have to just push back against this because it is divisive. It is not unifying, and we just have to cut through this clutter. So I'm really thankful that Michael Yon is going to be with us for the next hour to help us wade through all of this. He'll do a much better job than I will. We'll try to guide this conversation through those 4 areas that I mentioned in the intro. But we're going to go to a quick break, commercial break. When we come back, we'll bring Michael Yon in and continue this discussion. If you have questions or comments, please throw them up into the live chat, and we will see if we can get to some of your questions and concerns. Again, lots of questions about the official narrative regarding this assassination. We're going to hit them all today with Michael Yon. Keep it tuned right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Shannon Joy here for PCM and Associates. If we've learned anything over the past 4 years, it's to expect the unexpected. Well, proper asset allocation can minimize the impact of the unexpected. From inflation to tax rates to energy efficiencies, we can never really know what we're going to get. Allocating funds among various categories like growth, income, international, tangible assets, and cash can help investors prepare for anything. PCM and Associates practices asset allocation for a rate of return. Call Don Polano today at 1-800-536-1368. That's 1-800-536-1368 for financial independence with a wealth manager who shares your values. Call Dom today. Here's a question everyone is asking. Why are central banks buying so much gold? For decades, gold played a very quiet role in central bank strategies as it served as a backstop, a stabilizer, a tool for diversifying their reserves. But now, amid concerns over the strength of the US dollar, tariffs, and rising geopolitical tensions, analysts believe that the increased gold buying may also be part of a global trend towards de-dollarization. And this is why so many Americans are hedging against de-dollarization with a metals strategy. And for my metals strategy, I work with the folks over at Colonial Metals Group. This is the only company that I trust. Paul Stone, you've met him here on the Shannon Joy Show so many times. The team at Colonial Metals Group is ready to help and assist. No high pressure sales. They're not going to push you into anything you don't want to do. They're just going to give you great information about how to hedge against the chaos of 2025 with a solid metals strategy. Please go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy today. That's colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. And make sure you let them know that Shannon Joy sent you. They love this audience and they are ready to help. So call them today or visit colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. And I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our amazing sponsors here in the Shannon Joy Show. And that is Relief Band. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this amazing product, but it is a patented, clinically proven, FDA cleared technology that gently stimulates the underside of the wrist and tackles all type of dizziness, nausea, car sickness, motion sickness. If you're struggling with any type of migraines, headaches, even hangovers, it is an absolute miracle product. And I told this story just a few weeks ago. My daughter, Mimi, who is now 17 years old, has struggled with car sickness her entire life. When she was a little baby, every time we got into the car, she would get sick. It was awful. And she has persisted with this for, well into her teens. And so we just recently used the Relief Band on a long trip to New York City. She just put a little bit of the liquid on her wrist, put the Relief Band on, and she had no nausea, no car sickness the entire ride. It was a 6-hour ride. And I want to tell you, I didn't think it was actually going to work, but it is unbelievable. We do not get in the car with Mimi without the Relief Band now. This product absolutely works, and you can read some of the amazing testimonials by going to reliefband.com. That is reliefband.com. It can be used for everyone, including pregnant women. It will not interact with any other medications. It's even been critical for cancer patients who are going through chemotherapy and that, the terrible side effects of chemotherapy. If there's someone in your life who struggles with migraines, headaches, nausea, motion sickness, and any of those ailments, please check out Relief Band. Go to reliefband.com. That's the website. It's reliefband.com. Right now for the Joy audience, it is 20% off, but you have to use that promo code JOY. So 20% off for Relief Band by using that promo code JOY. Without further ado, I want to welcome into the Joy Virtual Studio Michael Yon, war correspondent and investigative journalist. He is completely independent, not left, not right, equally critical of the Biden administration and the Democrats, as well as the Trump administration and the Republicans. He is now joining a growing number of voices on social media: Kim Iverson, Mike Adams, the health ranger, Michael Savage as well, who are saying, you know what, hold on. We are not buying the official narrative. There is something very wrong here about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We don't have all the answers. There is a lot that we don't know about this, but there are certain things that are raising red flags and having people wonder if this is a false flag. Michael Yon, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. I'm glad you're here. Oh, I can't hear. Hold on. Hey, Ed, I can't hear Michael. So let's just take a moment and make sure that we have all of the audio set up and ready to go. Hey, Michael. I can wave to him.
Here.
There he is. Here. Wonderful. All right. So we have audio set up. Michael, did you hear the intro? I don't know if you were able to hear me intro. But if you could. All right. So let's just begin. Let's dive right in. Your thoughts, your initial thoughts on the tragic, horrifying, traumatic assassination of Charlie Kirk. What do we know? What don't we know? And why are so many now beginning to wonder if this is a psyop?
Beginning to wonder. How could we miss that it's a psyop? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a psyop. I mean, it's tremendous psyop. But the question is, exactly what's being done. But this is like trying to figure out what a magician's trick is. How did he get the rabbit out of the hat? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's clearly there's massive fraud going on. Is Charlie Kirk still alive or not? I don't know. But clearly this is anybody who's trying to confuse you is your enemy, right? Especially in a state of war. your side, your friends don't try to confuse you. Your side, your friends try to make things as clear as possible so that we can, we're not devoting a lot of our energies to chasing rabbits. That's what our enemies do. So whoever's doing this is not our friend. We know the Trump team's doing it. They're not our friend. The total days that I've supported Trump, lifetime days, remains at zero. Because you can spot yourself and you can spot your opposite. You can spot people that are very similar to you. You can see that. You can sense it almost instantly. Likewise, you can spot your opposite, right? Trump is basically my opposite. That's why he's so easy for me to predict. I just imagine what I would do and I invert it. And it's turned out for years to be amazingly accurate. I mean, I can basically read his mind by reading mine and then just flipping the script, right?
Right.
And it's like, it's stunningly accurate. And at the end of the day, he is clearly bringing a police state to the United States. And of course, the Trump crowd, or let's say the cult side of it, will say, well, who did you want? Biden? Of course, we know that. And they'll say, well, Fauci fooled him and he's just got a big ego and all this stuff because they're, I don't know what world they live in. Maybe the jab has taken away their intellect. Or I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's quite clear. It's amazingly obvious that our country is being destroyed. And Trump is the captain of, or at least he's an actor that's shepherding that through, right? He's obviously not the leader. As for Charlie Kirk, I don't know. Again, I don't know if he's alive or dead. I have no idea. I think he's probably dead, but how do I know? I have no way to know. Mm-hmm. And the only people that would know that would be right in the middle of things. And if they were on our side, they would be presenting clear evidence. They would not have cleaned up the crime scene like happened with the Trump quote unquote assassination or 9/11. Right. These things. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shannon.
Well, yeah. Why don't we systematically walk through this? Let's first start with what you observed. You've been a war correspondent, an investigative journalist. You have been in combat zones, a wealth of experience over the past 30 years. So let's start with the events of September 10th and the following 24 hours, which culminated in the release of a videotape from Charlie Kirk's wife, an open casket showing apparently we believe to be his body in a casket, and that kind of closed the door on everything. But in that 24-hour time span, what were the things that you saw that made you question from the very beginning some of the mainstream narratives that we were hearing on right-wing and left-wing media?
The entire thing. And I don't see anything about the entire situation that's not amazingly suspicious. Like over the top. First of all, the players involved clearly just serially do fraud. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, safe and effective Trump. He pushed the death jab. What more needs to be said? There's nothing, nothing else follows, right? I mean, there's plenty of other things to talk about, but that in and of itself is enough. I mean, for instance, in supporting the Gaza genocide and that sort of thing, there's so many aspects of this that are just over the top, in our face. Visas for the Chinese, I just had dinner night before last with somebody who just came in from Texas. He's a computer programmer and he lost his job in Texas because Indians coming in are taking all the computer programming jobs in Texas. He said a lot of the Americans are just losing their jobs. So he's come over to Thailand to try to get a job. I mean, he's literally leaving America to get a job because he can't get it in Texas now because Indians are taking the computer jobs there. Trump's doing that.
Right. Many are criticizing the fact that they very shortly after the shooting, Kirk was transported to the hospital not by an ambulance, which you would expect would be present at an event of that size, but by private transport. And then they immediately, it looked as if they didn't cordon off the crime scene, right? There was they didn't secure it. it looked as if there were videos emerging of people breaking down the tent and cleaning up, taking down cameras. And this is before we saw any type of crime scene. But other people are saying that they did establish a crime scene. What have you seen in terms of the truth about what happened there, and how they kind of mangled it? I mean, if they allowed people to come in and trample and remove things, clean things up. There was also a question about the blood spatter. I mean, you would think that behind him there would be, evidence of a shooting, and there was really nothing there. But your thoughts on those elements?
Right. Again, it's just a gross fraud. Like, for instance, on the so-called Trump assassination attempt, they took down that scene as well. And remember, people died there, right? Or how about October 7th in Israel? Again, immediately covering up evidence. IDF taking 7 or 8 hours to respond, which is an entire McDonald's shift. People are being killed, and it took that long to respond. And this is supposed to be, the best intelligence, the best military in the world. And yet it took them an entire McDonald's shift to respond to the attacks. How about 9/11, September, of 2001? That evidence also was carted off to the dump quickly. And people were arguing at the time, what are you doing? This is a crime scene. And yet that also was sanitized, right? So one time, it's just one thing after another. Everything is sanitized. We don't need, at some point, it's irrelevant. We don't need to keep asking ourselves, every little detail about the bank robbery. Right. We know the bank robbers hit again. What underwear did they wear that day? I don't know. Right. What exact bullets were they using? I don't know. But at the end of the day, they did it again. And it continues, for instance, and just serially, one thing after another, pushing all sorts of things like Bitcoin, pushing war with Iran, pushing, the Gaza genocide. All this is really obvious what's going on. The United States is being dismantled bit by bit, and Trump is helping. And again, I've been saying this for years. And look at, just randomly pick any 10 things that I've said. Just throw a dart, pick them, how they've turned out, ever since day one with Trump on the first election. It's stunningly accurate. And at this, and if my predictions continue with this level of accuracy, I think we'll see, like, for instance, we see the military being deployed to the streets. And many people are shouting and waving, hey, this is a great thing. There's nothing great about this. All the veterans out there, especially the ones who, let's say, were the serious veterans who were in combat, who saw U.S. forces deployed in the streets because perhaps they were one in Iraq or Afghanistan or other places, and the veterans, listen to the veterans. They're like, what are you doing? We don't want troops on the streets. I don't want troops on the streets. I was a troop, I was in the Army before, and as a war correspondent, I've seen what happens. This is all about creating the police state, right? And again, it's very clear that our economy is collapsing. It's very clear that the borders are far from closed. Right now, we've seen a temporary great reduction of who's coming over the border, flooding over the border, but they're getting visas, right? And mass deportations are not happening. They're just not happening. They aren't. And so
tell me about that.
If we just skip, right? I mean, meanwhile, like Anthony Rubin's a good example. Anthony Rubin, incredibly courageous man who's gone through the Darien Gap, and he just got back from Africa recently, and got actually attacked by invaders in Paris in front of the Eiffel Tower. Actually attacked him when he was taking video. He's studied the border quite a lot. He's working on a documentary now. And, people like this who've seen this stuff on the ground, they see it the same way I do. That he's gone across the United States, knocking on doors, and saw that almost every door that he knocked on for the aliens, he has, had many addresses. He spent months doing this. They all had new babies. So they're making babies very fast, anchor babies, right? So in other words, every hour that we don't do mass deportations, we actually have anchor babies that are being born. They're not going to be deported, right? It's just not happening. We see that a lot of words and no serious actions other than some photo ops. The United
Right.
States is being dismantled. Canada is already gone. Much of Europe is already gone. Go ahead.
No, so the monetization. So the psychological operation. It's designed. It's a trauma based event. They want to traumatize the country. They want to traumatize our people. And they can achieve a lot of goals by deploying a psychological operation. That doesn't mean that Charlie Kirk isn't dead. I think most people would say that he is. It was pretty evident by the video, but the monetization, the politicization, and the use of his killing, his assassination to further anti-liberty agendas is really what they're looking to do. Also, stoke fear, quell any opposition and dissidents. So right now, people who spoke up and maybe said nasty things about Charlie Kirk in the days after his assassination, now being investigated by this administration for their speech, as vile as it is. He's saying that he's going to go out and investigate them, and we're even seeing the use of this killing to push new legislation that would, and one of the girls who Donald Trump tweeted out a video of a young girl saying that we need a new Smith-Munt Act in order to force journalists to tell the truth, right? So what does that mean? We have JD Vance right now who is merging the government and the media by taking over the microphone of Charlie Kirk and hosting his podcast. How long will JD Vance be hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast, right? And pushing that government narrative. What do you think about there is also a theme that the United States is certainly working with Israel. There is certainly collaboration between U.S. intelligence and Israeli intelligence. They're setting us up for a new world order, a new type of global system. A lot of people talk about the digital system, digital surveillance, and also digital ID plus digital money, which they're trying to push us into. And, they're wrapped up in all of that. But some are saying that Charlie Kirk over the past few months has been increasingly critical of Israel, increasingly critical of Netanyahu, and has been vocal with the Trump administration on that issue. In fact, there are dozens of videos and sound bites of Charlie Kirk calling into question what was happening in Gaza, calling into question the relationship between the U.S. and Israeli government, advocating to the president of the United States of America to not bomb Iran, to not fight the wars or wage the wars for Israel in the Middle East. And some are saying and believe that they could be behind this assassination. What are your thoughts?
Okay. First of all, I don't know if Charlie Kirk is dead or alive. My gut instinct is he's dead. My gut instinct is he is dead and Zionists killed him. And keep in mind, we're in a state of war, right? And we don't have time to make a scientific assessment of everything and take months to come to a conclusion. In war, you have to make quick decisions, and they need to be right a lot more than they're wrong, because life and death, in war, in peacetime, in the monetary system, there may be a gold standard where, things need to be backed in gold. Well, in war, there's a blood standard. And when you make mistakes, you pay on the spot in blood, right? And likewise now, we don't have time to analyze every little thing. We have to use our intuitive senses. I think that Charlie Kirk went off the reservation. He was clearly raised up by Zionists. Keep in mind, Zionist does not mean Judaism, because I think most of the Zionists in the United States are probably Christian Zionists, actually. And then there are a lot of Jewish, obviously, a lot of atheists. There's even some Muslim Zionists. Zionism is a party, right? But at the end of the day, my gut instinct is Zionists murdered him. He went off the reservation. But keep in mind, he was raised up. The money that floated his boat for years was one that would sell Israel and its policies, right?
Yes.
And so then he went off the reservation, as often happens. The story of Pinocchio wanted to be a boy, right? This happens all the time. And with people that either get a conscience or for whatever reason, like say maybe his base was just was pushing back too much for him on
Yes.
Gaza and Iran. That could be what happened. And suddenly he might have said, well, I'm going to take a chance and go, up this river and with my base and take a chance, knowing that otherwise he's going to lose his base because people can see what's happening. That may have been what happened with Charlie. But at the end of the day, he's no longer a player, dead or alive. He's no longer a player. I mean, if he's dead,
Well, they'll
he's
use
obviously
them.
getting away
They'll
somewhere,
use them.
right?
Well, I mean, Michael, they have raised, you sent me the screenshots of Turning Point USA and the amount of money that they have raised in the past 5 days, likely hundreds of millions of dollars raised, some of that on behalf of his widow, who is a multimillionaire of her own right. I mean, Charlie Kirk was probably, I mean, a multimillionaire 10 times over. And so, but this is I mean, his image is everywhere. They are presenting him as a martyr. That was her statement. I mean, we can talk about the wife as well, the widow, and some of her bizarre actions, which lead me to believe that she might be being exploited right now. I mean, the very, very strange videos. But can you speak to the amount of, like, even though Charlie Kirk clearly has been taken out, they will use this though, and they'll use his name to achieve all sorts of things moving forward, correct?
Oh, right. Martyrology. I mean, it's called
Yeah.
martyrology, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this martyrology has been done for millennia. I mean, literally, I've got books in my library about called martyrology, right? I was just down in Nagasaki in Japan with Masako. We spent more than a month there researching various aspects of Nagasaki history. And one of those big aspects of the history is the martyrology of the 26 Jesuits who allegedly were crucified there, even though crucifixion isn't something that Japanese actually did, But anyway, it was during the time of the Inquisitions, by the way, where Jesuits actually were burning people in Goa, India, and other places, right? So I mean, but martyrology is actually a big thing, and keep in mind, one of the things that I've noticed in my studies and travels around the world is that professional victims are always predators. I've never seen an exception. And that goes on the personal scale, on the tribal scale, the national scale, whatever. Whenever you see a professional victim, they're up to something, right? They're going to use that as a shiv, and as a reason to do whatever they want to do, right? And we see the professional victimhood is not constrained to any specific group of people or any tribe or any specific religion. There's many groups that use professional victimhood, and often it's used as a psychological warfare component to make one group fight other groups, right? Is to just imbue upon said group that, hey, you're a victim. Everybody owes you something. Whatever you do is on limits. It's not criminal. You can do whatever you want because somebody done you wrong, right? And we see that's what's happening.
I remember they warmed us up to that with President Trump during his administration, right? They were always investigating him. Like, it played right into his victim status as being a professional victim, right? They were investigating him unfairly about Russia. They were investigating him unfairly about all of the women that had brought lawsuits against him. Then you remember they went into his tax returns. He had multiple court cases. And I remember making the comment to my audience, man, every time they perp walk Donald Trump, especially with the handcuffs, he clears a cool like $100 million in donations. Like, it is, you're right, like the victim. And I've never tried, like, I really try not to ever, do the victim type of thing. I mean, every one of us gets pressure and has situations that are difficult in, within our careers. But I don't ever try to let the audience in on that ever. You know what I mean? Because it's just life. Everyone has issues and there are difficulties. But man, did he really manipulate that victim status, and it carried him right through the presidency, then through the attempted assassination, which just, I mean, that solidified his presidency. Don't you think so?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a science. It's a martyrology. Look up martyrology, and you can easily in the next 10 minutes go to Abe Books, and you can buy books that are like 200 or 300 years old on this stuff. I mean, I've got them in my library. I mean, it's just amazing. So I mean, it's down to an art and a science, right? And so it can be used to rally people in war. China uses martyrology heavily. For instance, I've been to China quite a lot researching their information war. I've written 3 books on Chinese information war. They're constantly saying, hey, we're the victims of the British with the opium wars and that sort of thing. But the Chinese were doing it before the British were doing it. And the Chinese were doing it after the British were doing it. And they were doing it with the British on Chinese. And they're doing it right now today, right? And they're doing it. But some people will say, well, they have a right to do that because the British did it. Therefore, but how does that explain then how Chinese have a right to do that to Taiwan, or have a right to do it here in Thailand or to the United States, right? It's just how they roll. They're professional victims. You go to the Nanjing Museum in Nanjing, China, which I've done, read the rape of Nanjing and all these sorts of things. And it's heavy. China is, remember, when a country is setting up their people to hate, I've never studied or been to a war that didn't radiate in advance, well in advance, huge amounts of information that it's going to go down, right? I've never studied a single war that didn't radiate like the sun, right? And likewise with the Chinese, they are radiating an information war of hatred against the Japanese. Good. I've been to a lot of their museums in China. I go to museums all over the world, because I study information war, and you can pick up the scent trail of a lot of the information games in museums, right? And so we're constantly going to museums. But at the end of the day, when you see somebody creating hatred against others, they're up to something, and it's not good. Right. Remember, there's 2 ingredients to hatred: disgust and anger. If you can create disgust and anger in somebody, that combines into hatred, right? And that hatred can be used as a weapon in war.
Absolutely. And it's being stoked right now. Ed, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the video of Donald Trump announcing that he would be investigating anyone who may have said something untoward or something, offensive post assassination of Charlie Kirk, that would be great, because I'd like to run that. But Michael, this was from Marjorie Taylor Greene just a couple hours ago. And this is what she stated, to your point: there's nothing left to talk about with the left. They hate us. They assassinated right? So what does she mean by the left? It is a broad brush. It's rhetoric that is sweeping with a broad brush an entire group of people and informing her audience that they hate you. Now, I know a lot of people on the left, Michael. I have neighbors who had Biden signs in their yard and Kamala signs in their yard. And they're absolutely wonderful people. And I can tell you right now that I might disagree with them on politics, but I certainly don't hate them, and they certainly don't hate me. I have some nastier neighbors that might really dislike me for my political positions, but we live right next door to each other and we do just fine, right? So they're trying to create something that is not there. And in this rhetoric, I think that we're seeing that. Ed, can we run that tape for Michael to view as well of Donald Trump quickly, or not?
We have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
You mentioned Charlie Kirk, sir. What organizations on the left do you anticipate investigating? You talked about this last week.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
Do you plan on investigating?
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. They're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left.
They're already under investigation?
Already under
Have you
investigation.
asked to start revoking the visas of those who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death? Have you asked to start revoking the visas of the foreigners who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death?
No, we haven't, but we are looking at names. We don't like that. That's not right. We wouldn't celebrate if something happened on their side, and we don't. These are sick people. These are really deranged people.
Any progress on the Fed chairman, sir?
Well, other than
All right.
I don't like them.
No, but
All right, so we have sick people, deranged people, agitators, scum, people who speak badly, people who burn a flag, which would be a form of speech, under investigation, right? And the administration is promising, and this is the left, right? So apparently everyone on the left. Now, he had no trouble, Michael Yon, hanging out with Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. Right? They have dinners together. They will hang out with their oligarch power play friends on the left, but all of us little people have to hate each other. Is that what you're sensing? I mean, that rhetoric, I think, explains a lot of what you were just saying.
All right. I mean, they're preparing for a genocide. That's obvious. I mean, that's so stunningly obvious. I don't know how it could be more obvious.
What can you see
clearly,
happening when you say against the left? You think?
Against us. I mean, look, he's already pressed the jab on us. Already, let's say in Japan, for instance, over 600,000 people dead, right, from the jabs. In the United States, I don't know how many are dead from the jabs. I mean, that's already ongoing. The genocide's clear. It's on. It's game on. There's a lot of people that would be watching this now that are actually just dead. And it's going to, clearly, it's increasing. Birth rates are declining. I had coffee this morning with an ex-prime minister friend of mine here in Thailand. He mentioned the birth rates here are down for 3 years in a row. I mean, this is normal. I mean, this is every country I go to is the same story. That birth rates are reducing, and all kinds of crazy things that are happening. Illnesses that seem to be directly related to the jabs. They're still pushing that stuff, right?
Right.
They're far from
yeah.
finished with this. Yeah, they're far from finished with this. They want to depopulate.
They want to depopulate. What do you see happening? And so you do believe that Israel had something to do with this. For those of you who are looking for sourcing, there's a really great piece, very informative piece that was pushed out by the Gray Zone. And it really shows a timeline of Charlie Kirk's evolution on his position regarding Israel and what was happening in Gaza. And it was very, very clear over the past, I would say, month to month and a half that he was seriously questioning what was happening, likely getting pressure. That led to Ben Shapiro making this comment just days before the assassination. It led to an enormous amount of pressure that's detailed in this Gray Zone piece. And this was from a Trump insider and longtime friend of Charlie Kirk. They said that the assassinated conservative leader's turning point on Israeli influence provoked a private backlash from Netanyahu allies that left him angry and afraid. And he mentioned that he was afraid in some of these interviews. The source said anxiety spread within the Trump administration after an apparent Israeli spying operation was uncovered. Also, as you mentioned, I saw someone mentioned in the show notes, they have now closed the book on Jeffrey Epstein. So while the flurry of information has been coming out, it looks as if the Senate has closed the books on any type of reveal or release of Epstein information. But this led to sharp criticism from Ben Shapiro, who now says that he is going to take up the cause of Turning Point and go on speaking tours across college campuses to pick up the bloodstained microphone where Charlie left it. Ben Shapiro criticized not Charlie directly, but he did say just a few days before the assassination, 4 days actually, in a Fox News interview with I believe Mark Levin, he said the problem with a big tent is you may end up with many clowns inside. He said that to Mark Levin also heavy advocate of the Israeli government and Zionists. Just because you're saying somebody votes Republican doesn't mean they ought to be the preacher at the front of the church. And they're not the person that ought to be leading a movement if they are spending all day criticizing the president of the United States as covering up a Mossad rape ring or being a tool of the Israelis for hitting an Iranian nuclear facility, which are things that Charlie Kirk had done in recent weeks. So what do you make of the apparatus of Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro now apparently taking over the Turning Point operation and continuing with their expansion here in the U.S.?
Right. I mean, let's face it. This is a Game of Thrones in real life. I mean, it's people knocking each other over and taking their staff and continuing on. Right. This is straight up warfare. This is right out of the history books. There's actually nothing new about it. The only thing that's new is we get to see it in living color. But this is the sort of stuff that you read about. It's just like another bloom, another season of the same thing over and over again. We're going to see incredible war. That much is clear. The technology is there. Trump and others are threatening, the various technologies, all of every text that we ever sent, every email on every Gmail, every Proton Mail, and all these so-called secure apps. There is no secure apps. Zero. It doesn't exist. Anybody who's selling and shilling secure apps, it does not exist, period, right? All of your text, all of your voicemails, all of your Word document, all that stuff is all captured in these data centers. And the computers are increasingly powerful. Those things can be, even if you were very good about your own personal, let's say, security hygiene, people around you put things on their computers about what you're doing and that sort of thing. And your life is known. In Thailand, they're starting to use facial recognition to get to do banking, right? In fact, we just had dinner with two Thais tonight, and they were talking about facial recognition is a new thing in Thailand to do banking now, right? And in Vietnam, closing down millions of bank accounts recently. People that want to have those bank accounts have to come back in. And like one lawyer tonight told me over dinner, he said that I think it was about 86 million or so bank accounts in Vietnam apparently were closed. Are there even 86 million people in Vietnam? It's it's not just in the United States.
Yeah, he said that, the report that I read was that there were a lot of duplicates, dummy, and old accounts. And so they swept up. The excuse was that they were just cleaning house and they were just cleaning out all these old accounts. But in that process, they shut down real people's accounts. I mean, people are losing everything. They're not having access to their accounts. And we're seeing this in China. I just did a report last week on the closing in of the system. I mean, the Chinese, they have basically made it so that you cannot buy or sell without all of the digital apparatus in place. And they are turning off people's bank accounts left and right if their social credit score is not where it needs to be. And so this is leading. This is the good news. Let's get to the good news part of this, though. The Substack that I reported on last week is saying that there is a massive move in China by just the regular people to use all cash, barter, physical, types of trade situations, and they're moving completely outside of the official government apparatus, and that it's spreading, which is exciting. I mean, if they can begin to do this in China, we need to do this in Japan and in the United States of America and in South America, everywhere, because I do believe, what you're saying is very scary, and I do believe they are waging war on we the people of the United States of America and also this global population. I do believe that they have no problem, killing millions of us. We saw that with the lockdowns and with the rollout of the shots. But I don't believe that they have nearly as much power as they tell us that they do. And that it really takes, I think that pushback and refusal to comply and being able to have these conversations and continuing to have these conversations really begins to break the spell of the psyop that you have described here. Like, it would have taken us, I don't know, a year to get to this conversation in, the time of 9/11, right? You'd have to wait that long in order to kind of, slap it on the kitchen table and ask those good questions, right? But here we are. I mean, people very quickly picked up on this and immediately began talking about the holes in the case and what appeared to be a lot of lies. So do you have any, where's your optimism on this? I mean, where do you think, because yes, we're heading towards war. War happens. It's something that we've seen throughout human history, but where are the opportunities? Where are the bright lights? Where can people begin to make a difference in their own life and take back some of our own power and not fall for these types of psyops and these type of operations?
Right. When we don't fall for it, the stuff falls flat, right? I did an interview yesterday morning with a bunch of people in Canada. I think there were 6 or 5 others total, maybe 6 of us. And one of them was a Canadian former member of parliament or something. And she's from Iran. She's a clear Zionist shill, right? And so it's quite interesting. Oh, yes, straight up. And so you should see, I put it on my Substack. I put the video on my Substack.
I saw it.
Oh, yeah. You saw how quick it took me 63 seconds to knock her out, right? In 63 seconds. Yeah. And it took me 63. I watched her talking and I was like, I was sitting right where I'm at right now. And I said, I'm going to provoke her, and I'm going to not, the magic wand is not going to work on me. Right. So I started to provoke her. You saw me provoke her, right? She took the bait. And she tried to say, well, I'm just going to leave here if you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, goodbye. And she left. 63 seconds. She was out, right? That's how quickly it worked when the magic wand is broken. You can throw the anti-Semite spell or, the magic words. And, it didn't work because, first of all, it's just untrue. And I did not defend myself. I just simply said, goodbye, hit the road, Jack. Don't come back. Right. Yeah. And notice how people are defending me. Others who saw that, they got to my side. There's a lot of people going, look, she just spent minutes before that saying that we should all get along and people have freedom of speech, up until I said Charlie Kirk was clearly lifted up by Zionists. She couldn't handle it. Right. But it's truthful. Right. It's a very clear and truthful statement.
The first time I only met Charlie Kirk once, he would never remember. It was like 10 years ago at CPAC. He was very young. And that's one of the things, I mean, if they can get their claws into people when they're young, before they know better and before they're worldly, then they will set them up and they will elevate them. But he was being trotted around by a billionaire, a guy who was self-proclaimed billionaire. And he said, yeah, this guy is going to be the next huge thing. We're going to get behind him. We'll put all of our resources behind him. And I remember thinking, I'm about 15 years older than Charlie, but I remember thinking, oh man, I wish I could get a billionaire. I wish I had someone that would support my program and platform me. But you can see how when you say that Turning Point USA, I mean, it has been propped up. I mean, Charlie Kirk is a very gifted communicator and a very intelligent young man and all of those things. But there are a lot of gifted and intelligent young men out there, but he was lifted up. He was promoted and elevated. And that's the fear. I mean, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? And when you get into bed with these guys and take that platforming, it does come with risk. And then you are kind of thrust into this Game of Thrones. But can you tell the audience about why you believe that Turning Point USA was certainly propped up by the Zionists? And again, Zionists are not believers. They are not practicing Judaism. They are not religious Jews. It is a political ideology. We've explained that multiple times on the program, and it is one of global domination. Right? It's an ideology of power. But can you explain how they have infiltrated this country through organizations like Turning Point USA and people like Charlie Kirk? Because a lot of people don't understand how that mechanism works.
Right. Well, people like Charlie are called talent, of course. They actually call him talent behind the scenes. And they are talent, just like an actor or actress, which is actually what they are. And so the ones with a lot of talent may become lifted up, of course. And after they actually start to get locked in, they are behind the scenes called properties. I've heard them called
Mm.
properties over and over, like so-and-so's a property, right? And
Wow.
now keep in mind, when I was a war correspondent, organically, I got millions of readers, right? When I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, I was doing so much combat that I just stood apart from everybody else because there were a lot of people going to the wars, but there were very few, that would do a huge amount of combat, almost non-existent, that would actually do lots and lots of combat. And so I ended up being in a class of my own because I did so much combat, like just firefight after firefight, multiple per week sometimes, and with videos and that, photos that were really close, hand-to-hand combat, the whole works, right?
Wow.
So I
Right.
picked up
Yep.
millions of readers on my own. The actor guy, what's his name? Bruce Willis reached out. He wanted to do a movie on my life and all this stuff, right? So what I'm getting to is next thing you know, I'm back in Washington, D.C., and I'm sitting with these billionaires, right? I'm sitting with them, right, at multiple different times. The next thing you know, I'm in Israel in a small room, and Netanyahu's there, a small room, right? I mean, it was, and so I've seen this. This isn't theoretical to me, but I didn't take the money. I never did anything like that. I didn't actually talk to Netanyahu. I was busy doing other stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, I've been in the middle of this because of my organic talent, willingness basically to go and do a lot of combat, right? But I never took the money. And now you've noticed my readership is much smaller now, which should be,
Right.
That indicates something, I obviously didn't take it. So I've always
Right.
gone on reader support since 2005, right? I just did. And one of the rules of thumb in this environment is the people that are going to take the money do it very quickly, right? If somebody waves money and they're going to take it, they're going to take it right away. And the people that don't, they tend to never take it. And I didn't. So, it's quite obvious. So the best thing to do with somebody like me is just to, deplatform, don't have me on the big shows, that sort of thing. Like with you, they're going to mitigate you. Like with Emerald, they're going to mitigate Emerald. They're going to, they're just going to mitigate. Right. And so, but then there's a few like Charlie Kirk, he was lifted up, right? Suddenly he could do real damage. And he might be a presidential candidate one day, right? That sort of thing. He could do real damage, and they had lifted him up. And the next thing you know, he's gone off the plantation, right? And this often happens in the counterintelligence world too. As if you know any CIA case officers, ask them about this. When they have have sources and they build those sources in their own mind and that sort of thing. Some of those sources, like Pinocchio, want to become a real boy, right? And they start to have a voice of their own, and they go off the plantation. Right. They start to push back or have a mind of their own. And this often happens. It's some percentage of people just do that. And Charlie Kirk, he became a boy of his own. And that's what I think happened. I think that he got his own. I think this is what I think based on what I'm seeing and sensing. His base were sick of no Epstein files. Obviously, everything continued to be covered up. Gaza, clear genocide, attacks on Iran. And his young base were like, no, I don't want to go to war for these people. And where's the Epstein file? So at some point, Charlie has to make a decision. I don't know if it's his own morals, because I can't read his conscience and his mind, or if it's his base pulling him, pushing him that way. I don't know, or some combination. I don't know. But at some point, he started to go down the road. And it wasn't very long ago, he went off the reservation. This is a common thing that happens. Now your handlers have to go, our property, basically our horse, is doing damage. He's trampling us, right? So you got to make a decision. What are you going to do now, right? And this happens in the intelligence world, of course. It happens all the time. Or, somebody that you've raised up in business as your employee, and the next thing you know, they're trying to take over your business, And so you're, in the mafia world, that could lead to a hit.
I was just gonna say, this sounds like the mafia. And it would lend to Catherine Austin Fitz's assertion, also Whitney Webb, that it seems we are being run right now by criminal cartels, warring, competing criminal cartels. Now, do you have any insight into who took the hit out on him? Was it the Trump administration? Was it our own U.S. intelligence agencies? Or do you think it's more likely that it was Israeli, or were they working in conjunction?
My instinct would be conjunction, because they're consanguinated. There's no separation. It's like salt water. They are a blend. And you see Trump throwing Air Force Two in and other assets, putting civilians on. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, if any military person or other government people did this, that would be clear criminal acts using government assets for personal use. That it was personal use of U.S. taxpayer assets, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's clear that he's part of the cover-up. There's no question about that. Look at his own so-called assassination attempt, right? And that they tore down that evidence immediately too. And then Trump squashed any investigation into the so-called assassination attempt on himself. Again, as a very experienced combat photographer, I don't know anybody alive that has more actual no-hitting combat experience behind a camera than I do. I don't know anybody. I don't even know anybody that I would call in the same class. I took thousands of photos in real combat, not just war stuff, but I mean bullets singing by, he's hit in the face with a bullet, that sort of stuff, right? All the time for years, right? And that bullet trace by Trump, that was bullshit, right? That camera that they used? This is the camera. This is it. That's it. It's a Sony Alpha 1, right? That's the camera that was used. This is the one. This is the body, right? And this is a different lens. I have the lens that he used. It was a 24 millimeter. I'm very familiar with that camera because I use it all the time and I've used it for years. It's the best camera in the world for that sort of shooting, right? And what I'm getting to is, as soon as I saw that bullet trace video or photo, which apparently has gotten a Pulitzer, I believe. I mean, within seconds, I'm like, that doesn't seem right?
That was
and
off.
I published
That
about
was
it immediately.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and so again, why doesn't the photographer release the raw files? He hasn't done that, right? He has. At the end of the day, that was a clear fraud. And I mean, the whole setup. I mean, the entire tearing down the evidence and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it appears that recently they've mentioned that Tyler Robinson is not cooperating with authorities. That was the last that I saw. Do you think that Tyler Robinson is a patsy? Do you think he really is the guy who pulled the trigger?
I don't know. I mean, with my experience with weapons, I was a special forces weapons specialist in my Army days. I'm very familiar with sort of rifles like that. With 30-06 in the neck like that, I mean, it would have been left an impressive hole out the back, that's for sure. And whether it was that guy off to the side that shot him with a pistol, I don't know. Because remember, all the evidence was torn down, or was it squibs and nobody died? I have no idea, right? I mean, I suspect some things. I don't think that guy shot him with a rifle. It's clear that he didn't take the rifle apart and then put it back together again. I mean, it stinks so bad. When you open a refrigerator and something stinks in there, this isn't just like the this is like the door from the refrigerator was blown off. It stinks so bad, right? I mean, it's clear. It's clear that they're using, like at the Trump so-called assassination attempt, the kid on the roof that was killed, shot by the snipers. That's obvious patsy. And then the so-called investigators, let's say the evidence cleanup crew, got up there with fire hoses and cleaned off the roof, and they took the evidence out
very quickly. Yeah, that footage of the TPUSA, Turning Point USA staffers cleaning up and taking down cameras and contaminating the crime scene right after is just astounding. And then someone released, I guess there's one picture of the establishment of a crime scene, and it's like one piece of straggling crime tape that someone like wrapped around the tent. But there, no FBI, no images of a secured crime scene at all that I saw. Maybe I'm missing in mind, it.
That's important. That's important because that whole tearing down the crime scene is part of the crime. I mean, people should still be videoing that in great detail. That's part of the crime. That the crime scene is still there. The fact that they tore it down will leave evidence, right? Yeah. Whenever they're doing this, people should make the highest resolution video that they've got. Notice what we've got is a bunch of low resolution video, right?
Sure.
It seems to be it's always Bigfoot video, right? It's it's blurry, it's that sort of thing.
Well,
People should keep those video cameras running.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to Michael Yon. You can follow him on Substack. It is listed, it is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, along with all of the other links to some of the topics that we discussed today. We're going to come back in a moment. We're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, I do want to talk to you, Michael Yon. I think what I'm hearing from you is we need to move on quickly from this. We cannot spend, and I don't plan on spending, hours and hours and hours taking apart the crime scene and trying to figure out this. We're not going to dive into this conspiracy rabbit hole and waste precious time, because we have to get back to the news of the day. And we are going to get back to the news of the day. There are a lot of bad pieces of legislation coming out in the wake of this tragedy. They're going to use this tragedy to smash our free speech and establish a standing army, military presence in every town, city, and village across America, to use surveillance, digital IDs, and social credit systems to control us. And what we have to be ready to do is to resist all of it, to resist the emotionalism, the sensationalism, the propaganda, the division, all of those things that they are going to use this psyop to achieve in this country, to divide you from your neighbor. We need to resist against that. And then we need to do things in our own community. And I want to talk to you about that, Michael Yon. What can we do? What do we need to do? So we're going to finish off the program when we come back with that discussion. Keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a minute. Hey, everyone. So you know what is scarier than a storm or a blackout? Being completely cut off, alone. No phone, no internet, no way to reach anyone. This is why I trust sat123.com and their satellite phones to keep me connected no matter what. With a satellite phone from Sat123, it doesn't matter if you're out in the wilderness or caught in the middle of a disaster. This phone works when cell towers don't. It's the ultimate tool for staying in touch when everything else has failed. Here's the best part. Sat123.com is family owned, 100% committed to quality and reliability, and they believe in keeping you and your family safe wherever you are. Right now, if you go to sat123.com/joy, that is sat123.com/joy, and use the JOY promo code, JOY, for 10% off, you'll get 10% off your entire order, which is a phenomenal deal from an amazing company that supports the Shannon Joy Show. Be ready for anything. Stay connected with sat123.com/joy.
And you mentioned the hormone issues that women face when they get older, whether it's perimenopause or menopause itself. There's these huge fluctuations in what's going on with the hormones. And what creatine, what it does, what the studies are showing, is it helps to stabilize those fluctuations. It stabilizes the cellular energy production. So there is less volatility going on around the periods of perimenopause and menopause. And the studies that have been done on creatine with women, it shows they report better sleep, steadier moods, more sustained energy. So it's really good signs that good things are happening with the body. Women, probably men and women too, once they start supplementing with creatine on a regular basis.
What would you say would a regular basis be? Would you take it along? Would I take it along with collagen, or would I alternate them, or how?
Yeah,
there's
that's
so
a
many
good
good
question.
things. I never know, like, where should I place this and how long should I be on it? And what would your recommendation be for that? Because
That's a great question. So first thing, it is a daily supplement. It is best taken daily. It is not something that you want to cycle on or cycle off. It's not something that a lot of people, there's some myths around it. A lot of people think you need to have like this big loading phase where you take 20 grams for like 5 to 7 weeks. That's not necessarily the case at all. A lot of those studies were done way back in the 90s on gym bros, and they were trying to cram as much information as they could.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Want to take just a quick moment. I will never forget those images of those students fleeing in terror after that shooting. It was as a parent, young one who is in college right now. It's something that you think about. It's why I send Jackson, my oldest, to school with a bulletproof Faraday backpack from our friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. If you go to sat123.com/joy, that is sat123.com/, they have the Escape Zone Shield Faraday ballistics backpack. It's actually what I sent my son to college with. It combines ballistic protection with EMF and EMP shielding, making it ideal for travel and also personal safety. You can use it in a case of an active shooter situation. The backpack offers ballistic protection. It's also designed with a Faraday pocket to prevent phones from ringing during school classes, allowing parents to send messages for later reading. It's great for school safety, and that's why Jackson has one. They are on sale. Everything is 10% off. They have an entire Faraday collection. They have the backpacks, the beanies, the blankets, and the shoulder bags. They also have everything that you need when the lights go out. So, of course, the solar panels and the generators, of course, the satellite phones, the bivy sticks, you name it, they have it at the Satellite Phone Store. Sat123.com/joy is the website. That's sat123.com/joy. Make sure that you use joy for 10% off everything on their website. So, Michael Yon, thank you so much for being with us on this very chaotic day where there are a million different storylines, a million different narratives, gaping holes in the story, a lot of confusion, clear manipulation, and propaganda. And as you mentioned, that's how you know that's how you know it's a psyop, right? When it's like utter chaos. And I really appreciate you being able to come in and just slap it right down on the kitchen table. Like, we don't know exactly what happened here, but we know enough to know that it's a psyop and that there's a way that we should respond to it. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. Oh, I can't hear. Wait. Ed, we don't have sound from. Just wait 1 second. We'll get your sound. Hey, Ed, we need sound. Thank you. There you go. Gotcha.
Let's see. All right. We'll try again. Anybody who's trying to confuse us is our enemy, because your friends don't try to confuse you. Your friends try to communicate as clearly as possible, right? And especially in situations like we're at now, they would be crystal clear. Information they don't know, they would say, we don't know this, but we're working to develop it now, and that sort of thing. It would not become more and more confusing. The fact that it's more, we know everything that we need to know. We know at some point, all I need to know is that you're tricking me, and therefore you're my enemy, right? So therefore you shouldn't get one more dime of my money or any support whatsoever. You should get nothing but resistance, right? That's the way to treat it. And people can, many people, though, they get caught in this red pill, blue pill nonsense. Like, well, who did you want? Biden, it's like, how about neither one? Right. So basically we're talking about we're taking a choice of jumping out the 100th floor and landing on the red sidewalk or the blue sidewalk. How about don't jump out of the window, right? How about don't take either one of those pills? You know what I'm saying? There were other people that, in any case, don't support them. Don't give them any money. Anybody who's trying to confuse you, like for instance, TPUSA is clearly creating part of the confusion system. It's clearly captured. At this point, it's clearly captured. Why would you put any money into it now? Why would you put any money when they're clearly part of the confusion system? And so it doesn't make any sense. They should be transparent, crystal clear. They were living in a big house, and I keep getting these messages that, Charlie was actually very humble and poor and basically living, and I'm like, no, he wasn't. He was living in a mansion. It's like, it wasn't poor at all. He was living high on the hog. And so it is what it is. I mean, the fact is, I'm not going to spend much more time thinking about Charlie Kirk, right? We have other things to think about. Time comes and time goes, right? When you're in war, and we are in war, you need to snappity snap next to the next thing, right? Yep. We got other things going on here, like for instance, the bills that they're passing and that sort of thing, and clearly they're coming to have total control over us. Again, everything that we've ever written or said that's electronically that could be stored is stored, right? That's a big
So keep
deal,
your nose
because
clean,
that means,
right? Keep your nose
and
clean.
that means also the people around you, like your family, your friends, your associates, all of their data is also captured, right? So it's a big deal. I mean, this obviously can be weaponized. Remember, anybody with the money is going to be able to buy it, whether that's China or whatever. All these cameras around here in Thailand, or those over in Japan or in Texas or Panama, all these different places, all that information is going somewhere, and it's more valuable than oil, right? And so people with money can buy it.
Right. I have a comment here from Green T369. Okay, well, let's talk about the bills and what we can do. So what should we do, Michael Yon? What should we do? There are hundreds of thousands or thousands of people watching or going to watch this broadcast. What should they do?
First, okay, that depends on what positions you're in, right? For the average person, for instance, let's say you are a donor to Trump. Don't donate anymore, obviously. And don't donate to anybody in his circles, right? Don't donate to anybody that's in those circles at all, not a dime. That doesn't mean you should donate to the Biden type circles either, obviously not. Just pull yourself out of that. If you're going to donate to somebody, if you feel the need to do that, donate to somebody that's doing something that's not confusing to you, right? That is actually clear to you. 24 karat information is vital in these situations. And like, I follow you on X, Shannon. I mean, you just calling it like it is. Bang, 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 24 karat information, right? I mean, if I had some discretionary money and I'm like, should I send this to Trump or should I send it to Shannon? I'd be like, Shannon. I mean, that's a no brainer. That's like, I follow you on Twitter. I don't follow him on his whatever account Trump has over on Truth Social or whatever. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I love that.
So on your discretionary time, discretionary funding, just whatever you have this discretionary, whatever you do, just never put it towards the least of the evils, right? When they're both evil and they both come from the same hand, right? And so, and if you're in a really good position, you might be in a position to do more active sort of resistance insofar as if you have information that is really important because you happen to be somewhere, well, release it. You know what I mean? I mean, if you happen to have, Epstein files, you might want to release it and hide forever underground. But yeah, yeah, because we are talking about people that will hunt you down and kill you.
Yeah, I'm hearing from your own corner of the world, according to your own unique talents and ability, do the thing that you can do to emancipate and spit yourself out of the system. You're not called to save the world, but you are called to do something. And I would also encourage everyone to not be afraid. They want you to be afraid. They want you to think that there's a sniper lurking to take you out anytime you do something good. And while they will try to do those things from time to time, I think it's much harder for them to do that than we really believe. And we do have power in the truth and in the light, standing up and getting back to this natural world. So I want to thank you, Michael, for all that you've done, and please support Michael. Talk about 24 karat truth and just straight shooting clarity time and time again. Your Substack is amazing. Your Twitter feed is amazing. You can follow him on Twitter. And also his Substack is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And you can become a subscriber and a supporter of Michael Yon's work. So anything else that you want to get off your chest before I let you go? We have like a minute.
All of our families have been through a lot of war and pandemic and famine. Everybody watching this, we all come from resilience. Every single buddy has had a whole family tree that's been through a lot of stuff, and we're still here, right? Now we're up. It's our turn, and let's do it. And they're not as powerful as they look when we actually, every one of us takes our little bite out, right? When every ant takes a little hunk out, they'll go running out of the ant hole.
Well, and I think that's why they're amping up the psyops. They're getting a little crazier and crazier and crazier because they're running out of capital. They're running out of the trust capital. And so they're going to continue this, but I think we're very close to breaking them. So Michael Yon, let's keep in touch. We'll have you on again soon. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Shannon. I look forward to it. Good night, everybody.
All right. Great job. Thank you guys for being with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. Sorry, it was a little bit bumpy today. We had some tech difficulties, but we got it done. Thank you so much for all of your support. Please go to theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com. If you do want to support this independent operation, help us keep the lights on here, you can make a donation, one-time donation, or you can set up a monthly donation. And I actually have an enormous box. Devastatingly Handsome Dr. Joy was cleaning out the basement, and he dragged out an enormous box of hoodies and t-shirts and sweatshirts from Ride, Rock, and Revolt. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was the October 2020 Revolt concert that we put together to protest the lockdowns and refuse to comply with the lockdown orders. So we were breaking the rules in 2020 here on the Shannon Joy Show. And as I mentioned, I have a whole box full of sweatshirts and t-shirts. I can't bring myself to throw them away. So if you want one, I'll send one to you. So we'll set up a mechanism for me to send those out to you, but maybe we can link that to maybe a small monthly donation or something like that. And I'll sign it and we'll send them out and we'll get you guys some nice sweatshirts. But yeah, there's so much that we can do. And there are just so many lies out there. That's why we have to stick together and continue to diligently pursue the truth as best we can, even when it seems murky and confusing and it's hard to know what to say on any given day. We just keep going after that truth every day, and we will be able to push back against these malevolent forces. So thank you guys for being with us today. Have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.